I'm trying to. Oh, we're live. We're also live on YouTube, so don't incriminate yourself. I think.
Mitch, you're on live YouTube, Mitch.
Hey guys.
There you go. So yeah. Here it is. We're here to talk. I did some questions, so we're gonna ask you guys some questions, and
We should introduce ourselves.
yeah, do we need to though?
Hey, I'm Philip Fracassi, everybody.
Philip Fracassi.
See the microphone? Where's this microphone?
Well, you guys got to share. So.
I'm Tyler Jones. Thanks.
So yes, so thank you. I know you've come a long way, so please check them out, buy all their books, make sure they fly home real light. Real, take all their time, break their wrists, get stuff signed.
A la Francois.
A la Francois, it's getting the coffee. So one thing that strikes me.
Francois Vaillancourt, everybody.
Yes.
I love it. He's like, fuck off, man.
So you both seem like nice guys. I mean, you seem.
I am definitely a nice guy.
You seem that way. How do you guys channel all the horror stuff you channel? How do you?
All the horror stuff?
All the horror stuff. All the off. Like when you have a character and you decide to like torture them, because it's a choice. Why? How do you do that? How do you stay a nice person?
You want to answer that first?
No. I'm going to think about my answer.
Why horror? I steal from Stephen King when people ask me this, and I steal from Stephen King when he said on a Talking Scared podcast, he once said, I don't sit down to write a horror story. I sit down. Santa Claus, everybody.
Woo! How many? This is going to happen all day.
So distracting. I'm watching you guys. I'm seeing like a parade go by behind you, and I'm just like, what is that?
All day.
Can we just turn all the chairs around? And
We could. It'll be like a Latin mass in church.
If you guys could see what's happening behind you, you'd be blown away. So Stephen King said, I never sit down to write a horror story. I sit down to write a good story. And because my compass points north toward horror, it just always ends up being a dark horror story. And I think I'm kind of the same way. I don't ever think about writing horror. I think about writing a really good story, or I have a really fun idea. And because of the chemicals in my brain that I have no control over, it ends up being horror. Also, it's funner to write horror because you can write supernatural stuff and anything can happen, and you're not kind of restricted. So I think it's just kind of a combination of it's just whatever I find fun. I mean, when I think about similar with how you come up with your ideas, whatever. I think about Alter a lot. I think about when I came up with the idea for Alter, which for those who don't know, haven't read it, is about a community swimming pool beneath which a sinkhole opens while it's filled with children, and then horror ensues. And there's some supernatural stuff going on. The Grinch, everybody, the Grinch.
Wow, he's pissed.
I'm like, what? This is the most surreal moment of my life. But I was laying. People ask me how I came up with that idea. Like, it's so dark, it's so horrible. And I was like, I was just laying by a swimming pool in the middle of the day, beautiful sunny day. Nothing bad was happening. I was in a great mood, and I was just laying there.
And you're like, what if the pool cracked open?
And I said, geez, I wonder what would happen if a sinkhole opened up underneath the pool. And I wonder what would happen if it was full of children. And so whatever that is why I write horror.
Yeah, it's not all that different for me. I think that life just inherently has a lot of suffering and a lot of struggle and a lot of tragedy.
Way to bring it down.
I know.
I'm out here calling out Grinch.
That's it. But I think any story that doesn't address those things is like not discussing the elephant in the room. At least that's how I feel. So I've always seen what I do, same thing, like not fully horror, but broken stories for broken people. Like my first book, Criterion, is all about addiction. because I've known addicts, and it was something that was present in my life a lot of the time. And so, but I didn't want to just write about a kid struggling with an oxycodone addiction. So I shaped it into something that's a supernatural bike. You know, same thing with The Dark Side of the Room, thinking about dementia. You know, it ends up being something totally different. So it's a way of taking just the things that we all struggle with and are afraid of and trying to tell it in a way that's entertaining, I think, because that's the goal, right?
Yeah, and I want
To
to
entertain first and foremost.
And I'll add to that. I'll add on to that depressing comment.
He'll bring it back. In other
Bring
words,
it back. No. But I will say no. It's very true what I was saying, and I've actually I don't know. I think you guys can hear me, right? And
damn.
but you two maybe can't hear me, right?
No, they can hear you here.
So anyway, I was
maybe
No,
not
but
this
I-
comment. So
in the past I've been asked a question that ties in with what TJ here is saying is that's my name for him. People ask me like, do you write things that scare you? And I would always respond to that question by saying, no, I write things that traumatize me, and I write trauma. I don't write scare. I write trauma, and so I think that is a big part of, not that I've had a bad traumatic life, but I do pull from events in my life that have been traumatizing or that have been, joyful or interesting or bizarre or surreal, like what's happening right now. If you guys see the Christmas parade come out in a few months, that's why. Next time someone asks you, where do you get your ideas? Just be like, well, I was doing a live talk and there's a fucking Christmas parade right now. So I don't worry about the Christmas parade. But yeah, but it's trauma and it's fear and it's all that dark, deep stuff that sometimes we just want to express.
the funny thing is, I think of the two of you, Tyler Jones is probably going to get rounded up by law enforcement someday for your Google searches. You must when you research, I'm just researching books, officer. I'm just researching a story on secret governmental things. So, are you ever worried about that? I mean,
You ever worry about
what's your weirdest Google search? I mean, yes, let's just get your browser history up here.
I'm trying to think about my weirdest Google search. That's a big question.
I mean,
It's a good question. I just wish I
Do you ever think of writing comedy?
I do write comedy.
Yeah.
My stuff is hilarious. I think there's some comedy in there's a goddamn lion walking by out there. It's hard to focus right now.
No one else saw the lion.
No, there's a parade. Yes,
Yeah,
Philip, there's a parade.
Yeah.
Sure there is. Santa's out there.
There's a
Look
parade
at
in
him.
my head.
There's Snoopy.
Yeah, there's always a parade going by in my head.
I found the kids that were in the pool.
Oh, they want to.
Well, they just have them tethered to a car and they just drag their horses by. See, there you go, guys. I had to go there. I don't know why. Oh, I don't know the Google search thing. I don't know the weirdest thing I ever Googled. I have Googled some weird stuff.
Yeah.
But there has to be a moment when you're doing a story and you're like, this doesn't look good, right? If you put it in there, you're like.
I mean, there's always how long does it take a corpse to,
Yeah.
Right,
deteriorate?
right.
And what does a person look like when they're shot in the face? Or I think I know the answer to this. I think the weirdest thing I ever Googled was when I wrote a story called Saculina, which is about a sycophantic barnacle. I don't know but I think it's like a crab or a lobster. But yeah, they attach to themselves to lobsters and they control the lobsters. So in my book, they attach themselves to people. But that going through that story, I Googled a lot of really weird stuff.
Mhm.
So that was probably up to the weirdest story I ever Googled something for.
Yeah. Yeah, I've how long are human intestines? If they were coming out, a pile on the ground.
Longer than you think.
How many
Yeah,
hefty
there's a lot
bags
of
does it
them.
take to dispose of a 150
Yeah.
pound person or whatever?
Yeah.
Jesus Christ, everybody.
Are you sure?
Jesus Christ. There you go. Let's see you top that one, Tyler.
Good luck, Grinch.
Everything goes by when he's talking.
No, the reindeer went by with it.
Oh, did they?
They filled the window.
I had to restrain myself when you were giving your answer about the trauma and your emotional core, and there's like fucking giant reindeer going by, and I was like tapping Jeff's leg, going, reindeer.
Yeah, I couldn't.
Sometimes the research I do comes from things that interest me already. So like for Heavy Oceans, I've been reading about extraterrestrial life and things we see in the sky forever. And like the quote at the beginning of Heavy Oceans is from a guy named Bob Lazar. Do any of you know who Bob Lazar is? Yeah, okay.
There you go.
Okay.
Yeah, you're in the right room.
So sometimes it's not weird necessarily. I mean, maybe to some people, but the research comes from my areas of interest. I'm like, I'm already interested in this topic, so now I want to write a story about it and make it weirder. But yeah, the rotting corpse. I think we've all
Like how
We've
long?
all
And in
Googled
what
rotting
conditions?
corpse. Come on.
also the length of time that people go to prison for various crimes
Yeah,
in different states is always.
I guess it's how you write the question. Like if you write, how long does makeup last on this corpse here?
Yeah.
And then you're
Yeah.
kind of.
I will
You
say,
don't want to phrase it. How long would I go to prison?
yeah, I'll say, I think this
Asking for a friend.
Asking for a friend.
hashtag asking for
And
a
then
friend.
AI automatically activates.
I also Googled a lot of weird stuff from my Civil War story, Shiloh, where because there was this because in Shiloh there's in the Battle of Shiloh, Civil War Battle of Shiloh, there actually was a legitimate account about soldiers who were having green glowing blood, and it ended up being solved. The mystery was solved because it was ended up being like this weird bacteria that was in the area, blah blah blah, and it would have an illuminate quality when the darkness. But I, of course, made it something much more supernatural and dark. But yeah, that was probably another weird thing that I googled was about the glowing soldiers during the Battle of Shiloh.
How much does research play into all of it? When you write a story, do you get bogged down by that, or is that something you like to do?
It depends on the story. So you know, Serafina is a Civil War novel. I've written the other, Shiloh I just mentioned. For me, the thing with research, even like Boys in the Valley, I think, which is a period piece. I think for me, the thing with research is it can be tedious. Like when I was writing Serafina, I made the comment to my wife, I'm like, I feel like I'm writing a book report every page, and because you don't realize how much stuff you don't know how they did it. Like,
Exactly.
Like they like dumb stuff. Like the Boys in the Valley. The kid goes to the outhouse, and I'm like, well, what did they wipe with? Turns out corn cobs. Yeah, and so that's in the book, and that's what I call a moment of authenticity. But I didn't write like an essay about corn cob. You know what I mean? I think some authors get to and fall in love with their research. I try and just make sure that the research is woven into the story. The story is always the paramount thing, and then the research is just there to kind of make sure you guys feel like you're immersed in what I'm writing.
Yeah, the research for me is always a jumping off point. And I like
Oh,
to-
you start there?
Well, I haven't written as much historical stuff, but like Almost Ruth and Midas are both historical, but they take place in like an alternate version of what that time period might have looked like. So I'm not beholden to any historical details. But like I'll take something like in Night of the Long Knives, there's a mention of the conference in which the Nazis planned out the final solution, which is a real event, but then I add a character that didn't exist to that conference. Same thing with the chapbook I have coming out with Mitch Axum. Like so much of that is real, but then I use it as a jumping off point and just twist it and mess with it. So I don't feel like I have to stick to the reality.
Do you ever have somebody come at you at like a conference like this and say, "Ooh, this ain't factually correct"? You ever get called out for stuff like that? Like that wouldn't happen like that. The bullet would travel a different way, or have you?
Yeah, occasionally I just act like I didn't hear the question.
It was in another universe.
I've gotten it many times.
Yeah.
I've had I had one very angry gentleman who would not let it go because in Shiloh I refer to the gun boats as gunships, and he was very, very upset about it.
You mess with the Civil
Go to
War.
Shiloh. Civil War. You're asking for it because
Yeah.
these guys are serious. Somebody in my book, Third Rule of Time Travel, and hopefully it's not somebody in this room if you are. Yeah, access that way. No,
But there's
I'm
a
kidding.
parade
I love
out
it. I
there
love
for you.
feedback. but somebody mentioned that like in the opening chapter, there's a plane crash. Hashtag spoiler alert. And somebody
Opening
emailed me to let me know that the distance that they were traveling in the airplane from one location to the other location, I think I mentioned was like a 30-minute flight. And I think they corrected me that it was actually like a 20-minute flight.
Oh, yeah.
And they sent me an email about it.
It's a time travel book.
So, well, that's what I told the guy who was like gunboats, and I'm like, brother, there's like
Synonyms.
green blooded angels in the book.
Yeah.
There's like a 7-foot angel, naked angel in there.
Yeah.
Is that cool? That's okay. But so yeah, I've had a lot. I would say at least a dozen times I've had somebody reach out to correct me.
They just hate life. I
I
mean,
mean, sometimes they're wrong, which is always puts a smile on my face. Yeah, I did have this. This is a revenge story, but I did have one guy. When I wrote Third World Time Travel, I actually had this NASA physicist named Les Johnson. He read the book and he gave me a lot of feedback. And one of the things that he did when he gave me his feedback was he actually said you might want to put in something about the inverted square law or something like that. I can't remember. I wrote that book about 3 years ago. And it was this thing that he told me about. And I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. Yeah. And I worked it into the story. And somebody made a comment when that book came out saying, like, you don't even understand what the inverted square law is. You get it totally wrong. And I'm like, brother, that was a NASA physicist who told me that. So
wow.
I think he's probably right.
He might.
But I didn't actually say that because you can't comment on reviews, but I thought it. And I went to bed with a smile on my face.
So you mentioned Axum. So, I don't know, for anybody in the room who doesn't know, the 2 chapbooks from Rapture, there's 2 that
they're bound at the hip.
yes, they are bound. So what was interesting and what I was wondering as a fan and a reader and a collector, all that, when you wrote your bonus stories for each, did you try to get in the other voice? Did you try to channel Tyler Jones, or did you just say, I'm going to Philip Fracassi this shit and do it your own way?
Yeah, so for those who may not know, so Rapture Publishing, Mitch, Paul, he did a December bundle of 2 books, me and Tyler, and we were chatting on the phone, and we said, hey, would it be cool if we figured out a way to kind of tie them together? And I was like, maybe we could do an introduction. And then Tyler was like, or we could write after the credits scene. And I thought, that sounds like a lot of work.
The Nanopillow fight.
It's like the 7th thing I've written for Mitch for free this year, so why not just add it to the pile? So it was actually Tyler's idea, and so we each wrote an after credits scene for each respective other kind of story. And no, I didn't try and I wasn't thinking about Tyler's voice, but I wasn't consciously thinking about it, but I definitely, when I wrote that little scene, I think I was trying to continue it in the same general voice of the story. I don't think I was went wildly off.
No.
But yes, I guess I did think about it that way. I just wanted to kind of make it a nice flow, so I didn't do anything drastically different.
Yeah, and there's less pressure too, because you're thinking of it as a post-credit scene. It doesn't have to do a lot of heavy lifting.
Yeah.
But this is little back. This is cool. You don't even know this yet. So we
rewrote your chapbook for you.
Yeah.
We didn't
to fit.
share the post-credit scenes with each other until they were written, and there was no feedback. It's just we wrote them. Here's what they are. So Philip did something in his post-credit scene that, unbeknownst to him, completely ruins this book I have coming out from Clash.
Oh yeah. You want to drop a mic?
But here's what's fun.
Mission accomplished.
So I read this post-credit scene and I loved it. And I told Mitch, this is amazing, except I've got this book coming out from Clash in 2027, and his post-credit scene completely wrecks that. So, which makes it
runs it
it.
how in what way?
I'll explain it to you.
1 second. You guys, the Jefcon marching
There you
band.
go.
The Jefcon marching band.
Yes, they worked hard all year.
Jefcon marching band.
They're expensive.
But what's really cool is so
I'm
knowing
gonna
that
stop right there.
I actually have to go back into this Clash book.
No, just keep going. It's fine. No one's
I'm
paying
gonna-
attention to that.
So I'm gonna change and add a scene to the Clash book that actually makes sense of his post-credit scene. So it'll actually, you've altered the book. In a cool way, though.
God damn it. He clenched his jaw just then. He's like, you in a good way.
Good way.
I hope so.
In a good way.
I guess the check is in the mail then.
Yeah, I was going to ask if your post-credit scene affected the chapbooks at all, but apparently not for Philip.
No.
Well, no, because I don't plan to ever do anything more of that story. So that story is done. So, I didn't. No, it's all good to me. But staying alone thing. But I think that's very interesting. I did not know that yet.
So Axum is connected to a future work?
Correct. Yeah. There's a character in Axum.
You have to get it then.
Appears in
The character I wrote?
character is referenced in what you wrote. Character of Damon. He's a reclusive, brutal gangster who has his fingers in the underworld of Portland.
Did Philip kill Damon?
Oh.
So
Shut up, Tim.
I recently wrote a story for it's on YouTube, huh?
Yeah, it's on. I mean,
You know,
I could have technical difficulties.
No.
Nobody watches.
So I recently wrote a story for. I mean, it hasn't been announced yet, but I guess it's announced now. I wrote a story for the upcoming Stephen King Overlook anthology called The Rat, and one of the things that they said in that one of the requirements was like you can't kill any of the characters from The Shining.
Oh, what's the point?
Yeah, so I was kind of bummed out about that.
So you killed a rat.
So well, yeah. I didn't know.
So that's the Overlook anthology where it's supposed to take place in events prior to Jack Torrance's. Well, obviously, it has to happen before Jack Torrance
Right. Yeah.
blows the goddamn hotel up.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. Anybody read the show?
Yeah.
Dump the boilers.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
that
yeah.
was the thing. You couldn't. Like, were they really worried Stanley Kubrick's movie and the book would be changed based on what you wrote?
It was just one of those one of the things, because they got Stephen to approve, and I think that was one of the things was not the. At first, they were like, you can't use any of the characters, and then they modified it slightly to be like, you can't kill any of the characters.
Interesting.
Yeah. So I didn't kill any of the Shining characters.
So there's that. You're broadcast that on. Now everybody knows your
Lot of tea.
Shining anthology. When they made that
A
announcement,
lot of tea being spilled here today.
your name was left off the announcement. So
Yeah. But they're gonna announce it. I don't know. I don't care.
So one thing that because I just finished Longsight and it was awesome, by the way. If you've not read Longsight, M40, really tremendous book. It packs a punch in just a short little slip of a thing, but it does. I always marvel at that, especially with Longsight and with Boys in the Valley. That idea, the coming of age story. There's a certain magic to that. I think a lot of people connect with Boy's Life and It. I mean, a lot of those books hold a special place, and there's a certain magic there. But I think you have to kind of stay connected to what it means to be a child. To what? How do you guys do that? Like, do you find it like there's your inner child? You didn't kill your inner child yet, like most of us or the world. But how do you connect with that to recreate that sort of wonder and awe?
With Longsight M40, which is a novella that just came out in October. It's a coming of age story. Group of high school friends who find a fortune-telling machine in a carnival, broken fortune-telling machine. I've always been fascinated about that transition between childhood and adulthood. And I think there's no clear line, but it's a process of learning that, the adults in my life don't have everything figured out. And sometimes that starts at 10, sometimes it's 13 or 14, but there's this period of time where you're like, I think the adults have it all together and they have the answers, and then you realize oh crap, they don't. In thinking of during that age, feeling everything all at once, not being able to regulate or process what you're experiencing, but it's just all happening all the time and you're feeling it in this big way. And communicating that, there's the joys and the heartbreaks and all of that, but staying connected to that as a writer, I think writing is play. So I think naturally most of us are probably a little bit more connected because you're still playing with your imagination, and lots of people grow out of that. So at least for me, it's easier to slip back into that.
That's interesting. Yeah, interesting. I just thought it was funny that Jeff was like, "How do you tap into your inner child?" I'm like, "Look, it's Santa Claus!" I'm fucking running outside to see the Grinch. Yeah, it's a real stretch for me to find that inner child. I also, I wrote a lot of movies for little kids. I don't know if you guys are, I wrote like a lot of Santa Pups movies with talking dogs and stuff and fart jokes and yeah, you got to put your 5-year-old cap on. But I have written a lot of stories about kids, and I think, like Tyler was saying, there is something about. He said it very well, actually, which is I thought was actually very interesting, which is that you are still at play. It is like when you were running around as a kid and pretending to shoot whatever bad guys and stuff, and there is an element of that. But it's hard to know, like because if you look at, it's hard to explain how, as a writer, you fall into people like characters, because I was asked, just went on tour for Autumn Springs Retirement Massacre, and a lot of people ask me, how did you so easily, write in the voice of a 78-year-old woman? And I was like, well, first of all, I'm pretty old. But I went to the same, and I kind of said, for the same reason I could write about, Boys of the Valley, I wrote about kids between the ages of 6 and 16, and I was, I don't know what that is.
Mm-hmm.
That I think it's like the same when someone sits down at a piano and they can hear music and play by ear.
Mm-hmm.
It's just something that you're gifted, by God. You just have this like weird chip in your brain that allows you to do it.
Yeah.
Because there's really no rational explanation for why I can so easily inhabit, or Tyler or any writer can just be like, oh, I'm going to be this character. I'm going to be this character. I'm going to write as this character. And, yeah, it's just something that for me, it's very natural. It's very easy to do.
Yeah. I mean, Autumn Springs has so many different characters and all your works, like all the characters exist. And I think that's when, like in Long Sight too, each one is sort of, do you ever recognize people in your life after you've written it? Do you ever look at those characters and go, oh, I bet you that's, or is it intentional?
I don't typically. No, I don't recognize like people I know in any recognizable way. But another aspect of that, like the ability to slip into the skin of another, I think most writers are naturally curious as well. And that's an extension of curiosity. Like, I wonder what this person, like a 14-year-old kid, how they would act if they dealt with this situation, or a 70-year-old woman in a retirement home and there's a killer. How would this particular person deal with this scenario based on all her life experiences and her personality?
Yeah.
So it's like a natural curiosity as well,
Yeah.
which is,
Mm-hmm.
I think, playful as well.
Yeah, and that's a really good point. And one of the things that I've also mentioned is like, Autumn Springs, specifically, one of the things that really attracted me to that story was not so much like, oh, I'm going to write a slasher to kill old people, which is awesome. But I was also kind of like, oh no, honestly, one of the things that really intrigued me about that was exactly what Tyler was saying, was like, how would they respond to that? How would a bunch of 70 and 80-year-old and 90-year-old people in this really, tranquil, idyllic community, how would they respond to there being someone like a serial killer in their midst? And that was the most interesting thing for me, was thinking about how these characters would react. And I guess in a similar way, I don't think I thought of it as quite as consciously with Boys in the Valley, it was similar. It was like, how will these kids respond to being locked in together with, like, where half of them are now possessed murderers and half of them are like scared little kids, trying to survive. So I think a lot of that is exactly right. It's very intriguing to be like, ooh, I wonder what they would do if that happened. That's kind of a cool thing for me as a writer that I get attached to. Yeah.
Which is like the core of every single story, isn't it? Because it's not so much what's happening, but how the characters
A bit of call and response.
are responding to it always. That's what we invest in. That's what we get interested in, and that's like a Liam Neeson character reacting in a retirement home. Is going to be very different than Rose.
Liam would be a good Miller.
Yeah, I was picturing. I'm like, who would he play?
But if you get Liam Neeson from Taken and he's in a retirement home, then you're gonna have a totally different story.
What do you get? Dark Man in a difference.
There you
Oh, Dark Man, yes. He can't feel
But
pain.
the reactions of the character determine what kind of story it is.
So I know you plot yours out. You do outlines, and I don't know if
I
you
do. I don't know what he does.
Nobody knows what Tyler does. But are you surprised by those reactions of your characters, or are you like, no, I know what's going to happen?
Oh,
I mean, because I don't know
Yeah.
what your process. If you plot it out, you do an outline, chapter by chapter, exactly the dots you want to connect. Then writing happens, and of course you're connecting those dots beautifully. But when you're outlining it, are you determining? Are you meeting the characters there?
yeah. So it's a really good question because it does actually they do actually surprise me. I wrote a book called The Blue Butterfly that's coming out in summer of
Awesome book.
2027. Hasn't been the publisher hasn't put it out yet. That I cannot say on YouTube, but that was a situation where I had plotted it out. It's a kind of a mystery thriller, and that I had plotted out in minutia. And about 3/4 of the way through the book, the main character did something that I did not expect or want them to do, and it changed the whole last
Unbelievable.
act of the book. And I had to go back and go back to my outlines and readjust it. So that was a situation where the character totally did something out of left field that I was not expecting them to do. With Autumn Springs, I actually did not outline Autumn Springs. I tried to, but I had like a mental block and I couldn't outline it. So I think I was podcasting with someone, maybe Alexis, I'm not sure who I was talking to, but they said one of the things that might reason the day game was like maybe because you weren't sure how they were going to respond to everything that was happening. And I said that's actually really good insight. It could actually be why. And I remember being like I don't know, maybe like a third of the way through that book, and I'm not going to spoil anything, but I remember Rose Dubois, my main character, and I remember her way she was responding to things, and I was like, why are you being this way, Rose? Like, why are you so? What's with you? And I ended up creating this whole backstory for her that I had not initially thought about as part of her character because she was reacting in this kind of weird way, and I was like, why are you doing that? And so I was like, well, maybe this happened to you in your past. And so I ended up doing this kind of like in-depth backstory that ends up playing into the actual novel. So that was kind of cool.
Yeah.
That's the cool part about not outlining. But the negative part about not outlining is I ended up doing a lot more heavy lifting on the rewrites than I normally do.
Yeah, I'm always surprised because I don't outline at all.
You
it's
just
a
go with
constant surprise. But what he said about maybe this happened to you in the past, that's constantly what I'm thinking about. Is based on the life that you've lived, the experiences you've had, whatever's occurred within your life to make you who you are is going to determine how you respond to these situations. And even like what a character, even what bothers them. Like, I hate the way that guy's chewing gum. You know, why is that?
That's
you
my
know?
wife. You wrote the character.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm a constant pantser. Like going by the seat of your pants. That's what that means. Not like.
I was gonna have to put a tablecloth.
I don't think anybody thought that.
Okay. Well,
just in case.
You're literally the only one who thought that. You know, I'm not pulling people's pants down, you guys. Like everyone's like, "What?"
Mitch was back there nodding. With
Yeah.
But yeah, I've always wanted to outline, and I'd like to someday. Like my process right now is pantsing, but then
Never think of that word the same way.
Now it's just weird.
Now it's like awkward, right?
Now it's wrong.
Just writing the story, but as I'm writing, underneath the text in the document, I will make notes to myself. And by the time I'm finished with the first draft of the book, I'll have pages of notes that I go back and incorporate.
Yeah.
The book I was talking about with Clash, the first time that it came to me fully formed. I knew every single beat. I knew everything that happens within that.
Well, it sounds like I
before
wrote half of
started.
it for you. Has that been announced?
It has.
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
What's it called?
Go. G-O, go.
You're spelling it for an author. That's,
I know. Well, like it could be Vincent Van Gogh.
oh, that's true. It could be. Could be.
Poor
See?
Tyler.
We got about 5 more minutes because I know you guys are just jonesing for those signatures. I know. I can smell the itch.
Pun intended.
Yeah. So if anybody has any questions oh, look at that. Look at that. You know what? I could do my Oprah thing. Remember Oprah?
You got to run. Got to run.
Phil, pantsing works so well for you in Autumn Springs, and I kind of feel like that's my favorite book you've ever written.
Oh,
I
there
like
you
a
go.
lot of them. But
You can go right to hell, Tim.
how do you
You
feel
can go
about trying
straight to
that
hell,
again?
sir. So next question. No, go ahead. What?
How do you feel about trying it out again? It seemed to work so daggone well with that book from start to finish.
I mean, it's ultimately going to come down to how the stories, like I'm outlining Gothic 2 right now, and which is coming out in April of 2027, assuming I get it done. And as soon as I can just stop going places, Jeff,
Yes.
and get back to my desk. So like that one I outlined pretty easily, came pretty easily. It just kind of like I was like, okay, I know this. And like I said, I think Autumn Springs, for whatever reason, I could not see it. I had a couple scenes in my head, and I was like, but I could not see the beats. And so I think it'll come down to if I have that, if it comes up again, I'll go with it. Yeah. But I like the reason I like outlining personally is not so that I work within a rigid framework. It's so that I don't want to think about what happens next when I'm writing a chapter or a scene. I want to know already what's going to happen so that I can, so I can just focus on what I'm doing and
Spend time in the moment.
spend time in the moment, incorporating, maybe dropping some stuff, that's about it, or just I don't know. For me, it's just so much more relaxing to write that way. But I'm uncommon. I know a lot of writers, I'm buddies with a lot of writers, and I think I would say a majority of writers do not outline that I know, and most of them do kind of pants. They have like maybe a general idea. And they just kind of go. I'm more like meticulous about it. I think it's also an element because I write screenplays.
Yeah.
And I think in screenplays you kind of have to outline although I've heard of like Weapons, Zach Kreger mentioned that he wrote I don't know if everyone's seen Weapons, but he wrote the first like act of that movie not knowing it happened. And then it wasn't until he'd written it, that he was like, oh, I think I know why it happened, and then he kind of made it up. So, I think it's just art. It's just how you prefer to create art, and this is the way I prefer to do it. And Tyler does it the weird way, and I do it the right way.
Questions. I think it had to be interesting when you Google search how much Viagra does it take to kill a man.
Oh, yeah.
There's some things in Autumn Springs that like.
I did a lot of Googling. I don't want to spoil it for those who haven't read it. I do have copies here.
If you're over 35, you know the BPM.
Right. I did Google a lot of like drug stuff.
LSD.
Yeah, and drug effects, and so that could come back to bite me. And I did. There is a very fun scene in the book where our friend Miller, and I don't want to spoil anything, but I don't think it's a spoiler, but our friend Miller is trying to explain to his dear friend Rose, these two elderly people, very sweet people, and Miller's trying to explain to Rose how this other gentleman died, and he died.
It's very
And there's a
uncomfortable.
word for it. I can't think of the name off the top of my head. Jesus Christ!
It's a
Like 4 people just shouted it out. Like, oh yeah, my brother died of cardiac.
it's a common phobia.
Yeah, I had no
Lot of
idea. I
men
was
are
like
really
going dark, like out the dark web looking this shit up. They're like, oh, cardiac, yeah. Happened to me. And Miller's trying to tell Rose.
But it doesn't happen.
And Miller's trying to explain to Rose this word, and he's kind of giggling, and she's like, "This is not funny, Beauregard,"
Yeah,
And he's like, "I know." But yeah, that was a weird Google experience.
So, if anybody else has any questions, otherwise we're gonna put him back to work. And
Tyler.
Tyler, yes. And everybody can swap them, and then there's food in the kitchen.
Oh, is it
And
lunchtime?
You can eat. You can eat.
When you're done signing.
You can have, you have a section of a sub sandwich, maybe.
I'll eat while I'm signing.
There you go. So you guys gonna get some crumbs and Phil Percassi DNA on your book, but that's good. And everybody on YouTube, you're just gonna have to wait. So yay!
Thanks, guys.